Hello, everyone. Tonight we are going to put you inside one of the most absurdly over-engineered animals to have ever walked the earth. Picture yourself for a moment not in your comfortable room, but standing on the warm, dry grasslands of Pleistocene South America. The air is thin, crisp, and smells of dust and distant rain. Strange, high-pitched bird calls echo from gallery forests, lining a slow-moving river nearby. You are soft, you are slow, and you have no claws, no fangs, no real defenses to speak of. Let's be honest, in this environment with your soft, easily punctured skin, you are a walking Lunchable. You probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really enjoy what I do here. As always, I'd love to see where you're all listening from tonight. Go ahead and post your city and the time in the comments below. Now turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's embark on tonight's journey together. The world snaps into focus not through your own eyes, but through a pair set low to the ground, peeking out from under a solid bone brow. Your first sensation is weight, an immense unyielding pressure that bears down on your spine, your hips, your legs. It's a constant, a given like gravity itself, a part of you that you've known since the day you were born, when it was still soft and leathery. Now it is your fortress. You don't so much walk as you haul. Each step is a monumental effort of thick, pillar-like legs, digging short, stout claws into the dry soil for purchase. You shuffle along your entire world, swaying with a ponderous, rhythmic motion. You have all the maneuverability of a runaway filing cabinet. Your vision is poor, mostly a panorama of grass stems and the occasional wildflower. Your hearing, however, is surprisingly acute, funneled past the bony plating on your cheeks. You hear the drone of insects, the rustle of a lizard in the dry leaves, the distant heavy tread of something much, much larger than you. But you feel no fear. Fear is a luxury for the soft-skinned. You are a living boulder, a self-propelled bunker. Your primary concerns are not predators, but finding the next patch of low-growing shrubs and succulents to fuel the furnace within. You are a Glyptodon, and you are magnificent. Your day is a simple one governed by instinct and the slow passage of the sun. You graze, you move, you process food with a gut that could rival a small-scale industrial composting facility. It's a point of pride among paleontologists what can be learned from coprolites or fossilized dung. Honestly, it's the one job where finding a turd the size of a microwave is a career highlight because it tells you exactly what an animal was eating millions of years ago. Your diet is fibrous tough and requires endless chewing with peg-like teeth designed for grinding, not slicing. The sound is a constant, a wet rhythmic crushing that's more a part of the landscape's soundscape than an interruption to it. You pause, lifting your head a few inches, a major undertaking. The air has changed. A new scent is on the wind, something musky and unfamiliar. From your low vantage point, you see a disturbance in the tall grasses 50 yards away. A strange creature, a Macrauchenia, ambles into view. It's a camel-like animal with the absurd addition of a short, flexible trunk, an evolutionary experiment that nature decided not to repeat. It sniffs the air, its nostrils twitching at the end of its proboscis, and gives you a passing glance of utter disinterest. You are not food. You are not a threat. You are simply part of the landscape, a bizarrely shaped rock that happens to be slowly moving. It continues on its way, and you return to your meal. This is your life, a series of non-events of being so thoroughly, outrageously defended that you are beneath the notice of almost everything that shares this world with you. This sense of invincibility is, of course, an illusion. Heavy armor has always come with a price. Consider the Battle of Agincourt in 1415, where heavily armored French knights, the pinnacle of medieval military technology, became hopelessly mired in the mud, easily picked off by longbowmen. Your own armor, weighing upwards of 1,000 pounds, carries a similar cost. It demands a colossal caloric intake and makes you vulnerable in ways you cannot yet comprehend. A deep mud pit or a sudden flash flood is a far greater threat to you than any tooth or claw. Paleontologists still debate just how much of a waddle versus a straightforward shuffle was involved in their gait, trying to reconstruct the precise movement of these animals from trackways and skeletal mechanics. But from inside, you don't care about the academic terminology. You just know the effort it takes, the slow grinding toll on your joints, the sheer energy required to be you. You feel the sun beating down on your carapace, the heat absorbing into the bone, turning your back into a sun-baked shield. You find a dusty patch of earth and lower yourself down with a sigh that is lost in the vastness of the pampas. For now you are safe. You are a mountain of bone and indifference, a testament to the idea that sometimes the best defense is a defense so absolute it borders on the comical. You close your eyes, feeling the gentle vibrations of the earth, and rest. The world can wait. It has no choice. As you rest, your consciousness turns inward away from the grassy plains and into the architecture of your own body. That feeling of weight you carry is not a singular burden, but a distributed load, a masterpiece of biological engineering. You live inside a dome. Not just any dome, but a geodesic vault of breathtaking complexity, a single fused shell built from over 1,000 individual pieces of bone. Each piece is called an osteoderm, a bony plate that grows within the skin itself. When you were young, these were separate like cobblestones in a bag held together by tough connective tissue. But as you matured, they expanded their edges, meeting and fusing together with interlocking zigzag sutures, creating a single solid structure of incredible strength. The process is so slow, so gradual, that you don't notice it, like a tree adding a new ring. It's evolution's version of a multi-year software update that you just have to live with. From the inside, it is dark and surprisingly quiet. The thick bone of the carapace muffles the outside world, turning the sharp chirps of birds and the rustle of wind into a low resonant hum. You can feel the vibrations of your own heart beating a slow, deep thump-thump that echoes faintly within your bony cathedral. Your lungs expand against the inner wall of the shell, a wall that is fused directly to your spine and ribs. You cannot take a deep belly-expanding breath like a mammal. Instead, you rely on powerful diaphragm and abdominal muscles to pump air in and out, a system more akin to a crocodile's. It's efficient, but it means you are truly one with your armor. There is no taking it off. It is you. The structure is reminiscent of the Pantheon in Rome, built over 10,000 miles and millions of years away from you. The Roman engineers, in their genius, figured out how to build a massive unreinforced concrete dome by using a series of recessed panels or coffers to reduce the weight without compromising structural integrity. Your own body solved the same problem, but with bone. Each of your 1,000-plus osteoderms acts like a single coffer, a unit of strength that, when joined with its neighbors, creates a shell that can withstand immense force. A predator's bite, the blow of a club, the impact of a fall, the energy is dispersed across the entire dome, preventing any single point from catastrophic failure. Scientists still argue about the exact nature of the tissue that covered these bony plates. Was it a thick horn-like keratin, like a turtle's scutes, providing another layer of durable protection? Or was it covered by a thinner layer of skin, perhaps more sensitive to touch and temperature? From your perspective, you feel the sun's warmth seeping through the bone, a deep penetrating heat that suggests the covering isn't as thick as a tortoise's shell. It's a living structure coursed through with blood vessels that bring nutrients and carry away waste, allowing it to grow and repair itself. You can feel a dull ache in one spot on your left flank, where an osteoderm is slowly thickening to repair a minor fracture from a clumsy stumble weeks ago. Your lineage, the Xenothrons, is known for its weirdness. Think of sloths and anteaters. But your closest living relatives, the armadillos, share your penchant for bony armor. They also have a bizarre reproductive habit that speaks to the odd evolutionary path your family took. The nine-banded armadillo almost always gives birth to 4 identical, genetically uniform quadruplets from a single egg. It's an off-color bit of biological trivia that feels right at home in a family that decided building a portable bomb shelter was a viable life strategy. It's a good thing you don't have to deal with 4 identical rowdy toddlers, each demanding their own 1,000-pound shell. The grazing land would be stripped bare in a week. You shift your immense weight, the motion creating a faint grinding sound as the lower edge of your carapace scrapes against the dusty ground. The sun is beginning to dip lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The air grows cooler, and the warmth stored in your bony dome begins to radiate out, a slow release of the day's heat. You are a living heat sink, a thermal battery. This bony dome, this incredible feat of biological construction, is more than just a shield. It is your skeleton, your climate control, your silent, ever-present companion. It is the fortress you will carry until your last day, a thousand-piece mosaic of bone that tells the story of your life. You decide to move not out of hunger, but for the simple need to find a slightly more comfortable patch of ground for the coming night. You leverage your thick legs, pushing your immense bulk upward. Your flank scrapes against a gnarled ancient tree, and the sound is not of flesh tearing or hair snagging, but of stone grinding against wood. It's a deep, rasping noise that sends a vibration through your entire body. This interaction gives you a dull, tactile awareness of the surface of your own armor. It is not smooth. It is a complex, a tessellated landscape of shallow divots and low-profile ridges, a perfect mosaic of bone. If you could twist your head around to look at your own back, a biomechanical impossibility, you would see a stunningly intricate pattern. The thousand-plus osteoderms that form your carapace are not just randomly fused together. They are arranged in beautiful repeating motifs called rosettes. Each rosette typically consists of a larger central plate surrounded by a ring of smaller peripheral plates. These clusters then fit together with an almost mathematical precision, covering your entire body in a kind of natural high-end tile work. No cheap subway tile for you. This is bespoke biological inlay. Trying to map the exact osteoderm pattern of a single Glyptodon is a grad student's nightmare, a puzzle with 1,000 unique interlocking pieces. This specific geometry is nature's go-to solution for creating strong curved surfaces. In 1985, scientists at Rice University discovered a new form of carbon, a molecule made of 60 atoms arranged in a sphere of interlocking hexagons and pentagons. They named it Buckminster Fullerene, or a buckyball, after the architect Buckminster Fuller, who designed geodesic domes with the same principle. Your body, through the slow, blind tinkering of evolution, arrived at the exact same design solution millions of years earlier. The hexagonal shape of the osteoderms allows for a tight, stable packing with no gaps, while the occasional pentagonal plate allows the whole structure to curve into a dome. Nature, it seems, had a thing for hexagons long before they were cool in board games. This intricate pattern raises questions. Paleontologists still debate whether the ornate rosette patterns on the carapace served a purely structural role, or if they also functioned as a form of species recognition or even camouflage. As you shuffle through a patch of dappled sunlight filtering through the trees, you can feel how the light and shadows play across your back. The raised centers of the rosettes catch the light while the borders fall into shadow, creating a disruptive pattern that might break up your enormous outline, making you look less like a giant mobile meal and more like a patch of lumpy, sun-dappled ground. It's a bizarre thought to be covered in a patterned living rock. Your skin isn't soft. It doesn't get goosebumps or break out in a sweat. Consider the strange human condition known as dermatographia, literally skin writing, where a light scratch on the skin causes a raised red hive-like welt to appear. It's an overreaction of the immune system, a hypersensitivity. You are the polar opposite. A deep gouge from a predator's claw might leave a scratch on your armor, a scar on the bone that will slowly heal, but your living tissue underneath is completely insulated from such minor insults. You feel pressure, not pain. Impact, not injury. You are so profoundly defended that your body has forgotten how to register surface-level harm. You are a fortress, and the walls don't need to feel the arrows. They just need to stand. You finally find your spot, a shallow depression in the earth that seems to conform just right to the curve of your underside. You lower yourself with a practiced, heavy grace. The day's last light vanishes, and the plain grows quiet save for the nightly chorus of frogs and insects. You are sealed in your mosaic, a living jigsaw puzzle of bone and flesh. The world outside is now a collection of muffled sounds and faint smells, a distant reality. Your reality is the darkness inside the shell, the slow beat of your heart, and the unyielding perfect geometry of the bony dome that is both your protector and your prison. The night deepens. For most creatures on the savanna, this is a time of either heightened alert or deep slumber. For you, it is simply a continuation. The world outside may have gone dark and quiet, but the world inside your shell, the world of your own biology, is always running at full capacity. The most prominent sensation now that the distractions of sight and sound have faded is a deep, abiding pressure. It's not just the weight of the carapace on your back, but an internal pressure, a sense of profound density. Your skeleton groans under a load no engineer would ever sign off on. Your spine is a fused rigid rod of bone, more like a structural girder than a vertebral column designed to do one thing bare weight. Your pelvic bones are massively flared and fused directly to the carapace, creating a solid chassis to transfer the immense load down through your stumpy elephantine legs. This fortress is not free. Its mortgage is paid every single day with calories. The metabolic cost of building, maintaining, and hauling this 1,000-pound bone dome is astronomical. You feel it as a constant low-grade hunger that never truly leaves you. Even now, resting in the cool night air, your internal furnace is burning hot, processing the tough, fibrous plants you spent all day consuming. It's like running a supercomputer at maximum specs just to idle on the desktop. Any notion of a paleo diet or intermittent fasting would be hilariously fatal to you. Your life is a constant, desperate search for fuel. Forget toning your muscles. You need a team of personal caterers, not trainers, just to make it through the week. This high-cost lifestyle makes you incredibly vulnerable to scarcity. Think of the Great Famine that struck Europe from 1315 to 1317. A period of unusually cold, wet weather, a minor climatic shift led to catastrophic crop failures. For the heavily populated human societies of the time, it was a disaster. Armies couldn't fight, nobles couldn't feast, and peasants starved. You exist in a similar, albeit natural state of high dependency. If a drought were to kill off the low-growing vegetation you rely on, your armor would transform from an asset into an anchor. It would become a crushing burden that you are physically incapable of carrying to the next distant feeding ground. Invincibility is contingent on a full stomach. There's an ongoing debate among paleontologists about how you and other large animals managed your body heat. Were you a true endotherm, a warm-blooded creature generating your own heat like other mammals? Or did you rely on gigantothermy, the principle that an animal of your sheer bulk has such a low surface area to volume ratio that it loses heat incredibly slowly, thus maintaining a stable internal temperature without the high metabolic cost? From inside your shell, you don't have an opinion on the academic squabbles. You just feel a constant stable warmth, a product of your churning gut and the insulating properties of your bone and flesh house. It's a comfortable, steady state that feels entirely normal. It's amusing to contrast your high-octane lifestyle with that of your distant cousins, the sloths. While your branch of the family tree was engaged in a full-blown evolutionary arms race, piling on more and more armor, the sloths went in the complete opposite direction. They perfected the art of doing almost nothing. Their metabolism is so famously low that they can take a month to digest a single leaf, and algae literally has time to grow on their fur, turning them green. They are the epitome of energy conservation. You are the epitome of its conspicuous consumption. You are a gas-guzzling muscle car in a world of fuel-efficient hybrids. The first hint of dawn streaks the eastern sky, a pale gray light that filters through the opening of your shell. Your body feels the subtle shift. The furnace demands fuel. The weight on your back feels heavier than it did yesterday. You must move. You must eat. You must haul. It is the simple, brutal equation of your existence. The weight of invincibility is the heaviest burden of all. You push yourself to your feet with a weary grunt, the ground compressing under your immense footprint, ready to begin another day of the hard labor required to be you. The focus of your world narrows to the small patch of ground visible from the bony portico you call a skull. The great domed carapace gets all the attention, but the defense of your head is an equally crucial, if less celebrated, piece of engineering. It's not part of the main shell. It's a separate structure, a thick cap of osteoderms fused directly to the top of your skull, forming a permanent one-size-fits-all helmet. This isn't an accessory you can take off. It grew with you, its bony plates locking together over years until your cranium became a solid, lumpy rock. It's the very definition of being thick-skulled. Having a head encased in bone has its pros and cons. The obvious benefit is that it makes your brain nearly impervious to direct attack. A predator's claw might skid off the bone with a screech, and a glancing blow would barely register. But this protection comes at a cost, most notably in your field of vision. The bony armor forms a heavy overhanging brow, restricting your view to a narrow horizontal slit. You can't look up without moving your entire body. The world is a perpetual letterbox film, a widescreen panorama of grass, dirt, and the feet of other animals. Your life is lived at ankle level. This trade-off between protection and awareness has parallels in human history. The Roman gladiators, known as myrmillones, wore large, heavy bronze helmets with broad brims and visors that offered fantastic protection, but severely limited vision and hearing. They were walking tanks much like you, powerful but half-blind, relying on strength and armor to overcome the tactical disadvantage of their own gear. In the roar of the Colosseum, as in the quiet of the Pampas, what protects you can also isolate you. Your skull is a fortress, but the skulls of other species have been treated very differently. Consider the ancient practice of trepanation, the deliberate drilling of holes into the human skull. This procedure, dating back thousands of years, was performed for reasons we can only guess at, perhaps to release evil spirits, treat migraines, or as part of a ritual. Skulls have been found with multiple neatly drilled holes, some showing signs of healing, which means the patient or victim actually survived having their brain case opened with a stone tool. The very idea is alien to you. Your skull is a solid, seamless vault designed to keep things out, not let them in. You have no concept of a headache that couldn't be solved by simply being more armored. As you munch on a particularly tough clump of sedges, you hear a rustle nearby. Another Glyptodon has wandered into your personal space. You turn your entire body to face it, a slow, deliberate pivot. There's a moment of tension. It's here that another function of your head armor becomes apparent. Academics still debate the exact nature of intraspecific combat in Glyptodons. Did they fight? And if so, how some fossil skulls show fracture patterns and puncture marks that don't match any known predator. The damage seems to come from another Glyptodon, suggesting that maybe you and your kind weren't always the gentle, plodding herbivores we imagine. Perhaps you used your armored heads as battering rams in territorial disputes or contests over mates, a slow-motion, head-butting match between two creatures with all the agility of armored personnel carriers. The other Glyptodon seems to lose interest, or perhaps it simply decides you're not worth the trouble and shuffles away. You return to erasing. The bone cap on your head feels heavy, a constant pressure on your neck muscles. It's another piece of your body's immense investment in defense, another system that consumes energy and limits your perception of the world. But as you lower your head and continue to methodically demolish the vegetation, you know it's a necessary burden. In a world of giant terror birds and saber-toothed cats, a solid bone helmet isn't just a good idea. It's survival. As you move, something drags behind you. It's not a passive, forgotten appendage. It's a constant, managed presence. Your tail. It's not the whip-like tail of a dinosaur or the fluffy rudder of a squirrel. Your tail is a weapon, a brutal, devastatingly effective instrument of bone-breaking percussion. It is your answer to the question of what happens when a predator is smart enough not to attack your front. You don't need to check your blind spot when you have a demolition ball permanently attached to your rear bumper. The structure begins at your hips with a series of interlocking bony rings that provide both protection and a degree of flexibility, like a heavily armored sleeve. But it's the business end that's the true marvel of grotesque engineering. The last several vertebrae are fused into a solid club of bone, a massive cudgel studded with more osteoderms forming sharp conical spikes. This is a bespoke weapon tailored by millions of years of natural selection to be the perfect counter to the predators of your time. If your body's a fortress, this is the fortress's mace. You feel its weight with every step, a heavy pendulum that your powerful hip and leg muscles must constantly manage and counterbalance. A sudden noise, a snapped twig, a startled bird causes an instantaneous reaction. It's not a flight response. You don't have one. It's a threat response. The muscles in your hindquarters bunch and tense. The tail lifts slightly from the ground, the tip hovering ready. It's a feeling of coiled potential energy, a deep primal readiness to swing. The power doesn't come from the tail itself, but from a rotation of your entire hindquarters, a massive swing of the hips that can put the full momentum of your 2-ton body behind the blow. Humans in their own violent history converged on a similar design. The medieval Morning Star was a club with a spiked head designed specifically to defeat plate armor by concentrating the force of a blow into a few small points, crushing the helmet or breastplate underneath. It was a terrifying psychological weapon, and you are its natural equivalent. You are a peaceful herbivore that carries one of the most brutal weapons of the Pleistocene. It's a paradox that makes perfect sense in a world where everything wants to eat you. A small lizard, all nervous energy, darts out from under a rock and scurries past your feet. In a flash of motion, it's startled by a passing shadow, and its tail drops off, wriggling frantically in the dust as the lizard vanishes into the undergrowth. This is caudal autotomy, the art of the disposable defense. It's a clever trick, but it's not your way. Your tail is a commitment. It cannot be detached or regrown. Your philosophy is not to distract the enemy, but to utterly obliterate them. How much control do you actually have over this weapon? Paleontologists debate this endlessly. The fused vertebrae of your lower spine and pelvis suggest that a high degree of side-to-side flexibility was limited. Was the tail a precisely aimed weapon capable of targeting a predator's leg or skull with a sniper's accuracy? Or was it more of an area of denial weapon swung in a wide, indiscriminate arc to create a no-go zone behind you? From your perspective, you feel that the swing is more of a powerful, committed sweep than a nimble flick. It's not a rapier, it's a battering ram. Aiming is a matter of turning your whole body, planting your feet, and letting loose with everything you've got. It's less of a surgical strike and more of a total system failure for whatever gets in the way. The perceived threat fades. The muscles relax. The heavy club settles back to the ground once again, dragging a deep furrow in the dry earth behind you. The tail returns to its passive state, a reminder that your incredible defense is not just about withstanding attack, but about being able to deliver an unthinkably violent response. You are a gentle giant, but you carry a very, very big stick. You are content with your tail. It is a solid, reliable piece of equipment. But as you look across the floodplain, you see a distant cousin, and you are reminded that your design is not the AOL one on the market. Evolution, it seems, had a whole catalog of tail-based weaponry offering different trim packages for different customers. You have the standard effective cudgel. Your neighbor over there, a massive bull Dodecurus, has the deluxe sport model, and it is frankly terrifying. His tail is longer than yours, more flexible at the base, and it ends in a gigantic grapefruit-sized ball of bone, bristling with long, sharp spikes. It is a perfect natural-born morning star, the kind of weapon that doesn't just break a bone, but shatters it into 1,000 pieces. He shifts his weight, and the colossal club swings lazily, kicking up dust. The sheer physics of it is mind-boggling. The increased length and flexibility would allow for a much faster swing, generating catastrophic force at the tip. You watch him and feel a strange mix of respect and relief that he's on your side. Bringing a Glyptodon tail club to a Dodecurus fight is like bringing a baseball bat to a duel with sledgehammers. This diversity of form in your family is a classic example of adaptive radiation, but it's also reminiscent of the evolution of human weaponry. For centuries, the Roman army relied on the gladius, a short, broad sword, designed for stabbing in the tight confines of shield wall combat. It was brutally effective. But as the empire expanded and combat shifted to more open terrain, often against cavalry, the longer spatha became more common, a slashing sword, better suited for fighting from horseback. Different tools for different jobs. Your compact club is the gladius, sturdy, reliable, and good for close quarters defense. The Dodecurus tail is the spatha, a weapon with greater reach and devastating impact, perhaps better suited for open field deterrence. This, of course, leads to the great debate that keeps paleontologists awake at night. Were these incredible tails primarily for fighting off predators or for fighting each other? The sheer overkill of a weapon, like the Dodecurus club, seems to suggest the latter. A Smilodon might be deterred by one solid hit, but the only thing that could truly withstand such a blow would be another heavily armored Glyptodon. It's possible these weapons were less for defense and more for brutal, slow-motion jousting matches over mates and territory. A way of saying my tail club is bigger than your tail club in the most literal way imaginable. As you ponder this, your eyes wander over the landscape, noticing the strange spiral burrows dug into the riverbank. These are the work of Palaeocastor, the ancient corkscrew beavers of North America, whose bizarre homes baffled early paleontologists who thought they were fossilized plants or giant worm burrows. It's a reminder that the past is full of strange shapes and that interpreting their function is a tricky business. Is a giant spiked club for fighting cats or for impressing the ladies? The fossils don't come with instruction manuals. You feel the solid, comforting weight of your own tail dragging in the dirt. It's less flashy than the Dodecurus model. Another relative, Panocthus, had a tail that was flattened like a giant spiked paddle. Maybe that was for side-swiping at the ankles of predators. Who knows, it was a wild time for experimental weaponry. You're happy with your classic model, it's reliable, it's got good weight, and most importantly, it's attached to you and not swinging in your general direction. You give the distant Dodecurus a wide berth. There's no need to find out what his deluxe package is capable of. The peace of your afternoon grazing is shattered by a change in the air. It's not the smell of rain or the scent of another herbivore. It's a sharp, musky, hungry smell that prickles at the edge of your senses and speaks of immediate danger. Your methodical chewing slows, then stops. You raise your head a motion of an inch or two and scan the horizon. At first, there is nothing but swaying grass. Then you see them, a flicker of movement, then another. They emerge from the tall grass not as a single entity, but as a coordinated wave of gray and brown, a pack of dire wolves. They are not the lean, lanky gray wolves of the modern world. These are Enochion dirus, the terrible wolf. They are bigger, broader, more powerful, built less for long-distance pursuit and more for grappling with and overwhelming large prey. Their heads are massive, their jaws packed with muscle capable of generating a bone-crushing bite. And there are 8 of them. They fan out, moving with a silent, unnerving intelligence, forming a loose semicircle that cuts off any chance of a casual retreat. Not that you were planning on retreating. The concept is foreign to you. Your body remains still, but inside a switch has been flipped. Your heart rate doesn't skyrocket with panic. It settles into a deep, powerful rhythm. Adrenaline doesn't make you want to flee. It makes you want to anchor. You are no longer a grazer. You are a fortress preparing for a siege. The wolves trot closer, their yellow eyes fixed on you, a mixture of cunning and raw hunger. They are a formidable, intelligent foe. It's a scene that would have been familiar to any Roman legionary facing a coordinated barbarian charge. In 52 BC, at the Siege of Alesia, Julius Caesar's legions built an elaborate set of concentric fortifications to defend against a massive Gallic army. They dug trenches, built walls, and prepared to withstand a prolonged assault from all sides. You have no need for trenches or walls. You brought your own fortifications to the battle. The wolves begin to circle. It's a classic pack hunting strategy, a way to test your defenses, to look for an opening to unnerve you. They let out a series of yips and low howls, a complex language of intent and positioning. Modern wolves have a surprisingly intimate and somewhat off-color social behavior upon greeting a dominant pack member. A subordinate will often lick the alpha's genital region as a sign of appeasement. It's a quirky bit of canine etiquette that these dire wolves, your current problem, probably shared. One can only hope they don't try it on you. The alpha of the pack, a large male with a scarred muzzle, moves to the front. He is the leader, the decision maker. There's a significant debate in paleontological circles about just how wolf-like dire wolves really were. While their skeletons are common finds in places like the La Brea tar pits, their social structure is harder to reconstruct. Were they hyper-carnivores living in huge, highly cooperative packs like modern wolves capable of complex planned hunts? Or were they more like hyenas, opportunistic predators and scavengers with a less rigid social hierarchy? The number of healed injuries on direwolf fossils suggests a rough life, but also that they may have been cared for by their packmates, hinting at a sophisticated social safety net. From your low vantage point, you don't care about their social structure. You only care about their teeth. The circling continues for what feels like an eternity. They are patient. They are assessing. One of the younger, bolder wolves darts in, snapping at the air near your hind leg. It's a feint test. You don't even flinch. The sound of its teeth clicking shut echoes in the quiet air. Another wolf tries the same on the other side. They are trying to get you to panic, to turn, to expose a vulnerability. But you are a creature of immense patience, born from a lineage that solved its problems by becoming an immovable object. The wolves grow bolder. A darting nip becomes a tentative bite, the scrape of tooth against osteoderm. The impacts are jarring, but they are like stones thrown against a castle wall. You feel the pressure, but nothing gives. The siege has begun. The testing phase is over. The alpha wolf lets out a sharp bark, and the tentative nips transform into a concerted assault. This is where your primary, most profound defensive instinct kicks in. It's a move honed over millions of years, a simple yet brilliant piece of biomechanical problem solving. You perform the ancient and noble art of hunkering. You don't have the flexible spine needed to curl up like an armadillo. Instead, you draw your legs inward and upward, pulling them as far into the protective eaves of your carapace as your stout joints will allow. You tuck your head down, and in pulling your armored skull deep into the bony entryway of your shell, creating a solid, impenetrable facade of bone. You become a dome, a perfect, seamless organic bunker. Your world shrinks to a universe of sound and vibration. The outside view is gone, replaced by the dim, dusty space beneath your own body. The air smells of dry earth in your own animal musk. Then comes the cacophony. It's a horrifying symphony of failure. You hear the sharp snick of claws scraping uselessly against the thick bone of your shell, a sound like nails on a geological blackboard. You hear the frustrated guttural growls of the wolves, their breath hot and foul against your armor, and you feel the impacts. A heavy body slams against your side, and the force vibrates through your entire structure, a deep, resonant thump that you feel in your very bones. Then comes the biting. A wolf clamps its powerful jaws onto the edge of your carapace, its teeth grinding against the dense osteoderms. The pressure is immense, but the geodesic structure of your shell distributes the force perfectly. It's like trying to bite a bowling ball. You feel the pressure spike, but nothing cracks, nothing gives. This hunkered-down posture is the Glyptodon's version of the Roman army's famous testudo or tortoise formation. In battle, Roman legionaries would form a tight pack with the front ranks holding their shields forward, and the ranks behind holding their shields interlocked over their heads, creating an armored box that was nearly impervious to enemy arrows and projectiles. They became a slow-moving, unstoppable unit, a human version of what you are now, a living shield wall. The strategy is the same: present the enemy with an unbroken armored surface and wait for them to exhaust themselves. Of course, the effectiveness of your hunker is a point of academic contention. How completely could you retract? Some paleontologists, looking at the articulation of the leg bones and the size of the shell's openings, argue that a full retraction was impossible. They believe the legs could be pulled in, but parts would remain exposed, a tantalizing target for a persistent predator. Others argue that ligaments and cartilage, which don't fossilize, would have allowed for greater flexibility, enabling you to seal yourself up almost completely. From your perspective, you feel a deep of security, but also a dull ache in your hips and shoulders strained to their limit to pull your limbs into this fortified position. You know you are mostly safe, but you also know that this defense is not without its own physical cost. The wolves' frustration is mounting. They are expending huge amounts of energy for zero reward. They are intelligent predators, and they understand that this isn't working. Their attacks become more frantic, less coordinated. One tries to dig under the edge of your shell, its claws scrabbling frantically in the dirt, sending little puffs of dust into your confined space. It's a futile effort. You weigh over 2 tons. You are not going to be excavated. Their strategy is far less sophisticated than that of, say, the hagfish, a creature with one of the most disgusting and effective defense mechanisms in nature. When threatened, a hagfish secretes a protein that, when mixed with water, turns into an enormous volume of thick, choking slime, clogging the gills of any would-be predator. It's a defensive biochemical warfare. Your approach is more structural. You are the opposite of slime. You are pure, unyielding solidity. The alpha wolf, panting heavily, circles you one last time. It lets out a low, frustrated growl. The cost-benefit analysis is complete. The effort required to breach your defenses is astronomical, and the reward is uncertain. The pack begins to lose interest. The frantic scrabbling stops. The snarling fades. One by one, they turn and trot away, melting back into the tall grass from which they came. The silence that descends is profound. You remain hunkered for a long time, listening, feeling the vibrations of the earth. Finally confident that the danger has passed, you slowly, stiffly begin to unfurl. Your legs extend, your head emerges, and you rise back to your full, shuffling height. The siege is over. The fortress has held. You shake the dust from your armored hide, and without a second thought return to the all-important business of eating. You feel a sense of calm return. The dire wolves were a nuisance and annoyance, a loud and frantic waste of your time. They were a test of patience, not of structural integrity. You resume your grazing, the rhythmic grinding of your peg-like teeth, a soothing, familiar sound. But the quiet that settles over the savannah feels different now. It feels heavier, charged. It's not the peaceful quiet of an empty landscape. It's the tense silence of a hidden observer. The scent that reaches you now is not the pack musk of the wolves, but something else. A richer, cleaner, more singular scent of cat. Big cat. He emerges from a thicket of scrub brush, not with the boisterous energy of the wolves, but with a liquid, silent pour of muscle. This is Smilodon fatalis, the saber-toothed cat. He is not a lion or a tiger, but something else entirely, a creature built on a different chassis. His body is a testament to power, with a deep chest, a short, powerful back and front limbs of immense thickness, like a wrestler's arms. He moves with a low-slung, deliberate grace, each padded foot placed with absolute precision. And then there are the teeth. The two colossal, flattened canines that give him his name seem almost too large for his skull, a pair of ivory daggers that rest outside his lower jaw, even when his mouth is closed. He is the apex predator of this world, and he looks at you not as a challenge, but as a puzzle to be solved. He doesn't circle. He doesn't howl. He sits perfectly still 30 yards away and watches you. His golden eyes are fixed, unblinking. It's an unnerving stillness, the kind of focused intensity you see in a house cat right before it pounces on a toy. It's a funny thing to consider, but your fluffy little tabby shares 95.6% of its genetic makeup with tigers. That instinct to stalk, to watch, to wait for the perfect moment, it's the same ancient software, just running on much smaller hardware. This predator is running the enterprise-grade military spec version. This is a different kind of threat. The wolves were a mob relying on numbers and stamina. This is an assassin. His entire being is designed for a single overwhelming burst of violence. The historical equivalent isn't a legion or an army. It's the death of the great Korean admiral Yi Sun-sin at the Battle of Noryang in 1598. In the midst of a massive, chaotic naval battle, with cannonballs flying and ships colliding, he was struck and killed by a single stray bullet from an arquebus. A singular, precise projectile that ended a legend. The Smilodon hunts with that same terrifying specificity. He is looking for one moment, one opening, to deliver one final perfect strike. The tension stretches. Minutes pass. The sun beats down. You continue to graze, feigning indifference, but every fiber of your being is on high alert. Your tail is tense, the clubbed end hovering just above the ground. You know the attack is coming. The only question is how. Paleontologists fiercely debate the precise killing technique of Smilodon. Those incredible teeth were surprisingly fragile side to side and would have easily snapped if they hit bone during a struggle. So how did they use them? One theory suggests a can opener bite to the thick hide of the throat or belly, using their powerful neck muscles to drive the points in. Another suggests a shearing bite, where they would hook the teeth in and pull back, creating a massive gushing wound. Another still posits that the teeth were for grappling, for holding onto large struggling prey, while their powerful forelimbs did the real work. The cat sitting in front of you knows the answer, but he's not publishing any papers on the subject. He makes his move. It is not a run, it is an explosion. In one moment he is sitting, and in the next he has covered half the distance between you, a blur of tawny muscle. There is no sound but the thunderous pounding of his paws on the dry earth. You don't have time to hunker. All you can do is brace. He hits you like a freight train. The impact is staggering, a shocking transfer of kinetic energy that knocks you sideways a full foot and sends a painful jolt through your entire skeleton. His claws, thick and semi-retractable, find purchase in the tiny seams between your osteoderms, and for the first time you feel something truly sharp. He is not trying to bite you. Not yet. He is trying to control you. His immense forelimbs wrap around your shell, his muscles bunching as he attempts to grapple your 2-ton dome-shaped body. It's like trying to wrestle a Volkswagen Beetle. You are a problem of pure physics, an object of immense inertia. He is the irresistible force meeting you, the immovable object. The world becomes a frantic, jarring chaos of muscle and pressure. The Smilodon is on top of you, a snarling, heaving mass of predatory perfection, and he is trying to solve the problem of you. He can't get a grip. Your domed shell is like a giant smooth stone, offering no purchase for his claws, no angle for his strength. He slides his claws, screeching, and you feel the jarring impacts as he readjusts his immense power, focused on the singular goal of pinning you, of finding a weak point. The air is filled with his guttural, frustrated roars, a sound that vibrates right through your carapace and into your bones. Then he commits. He has grappled you as best he can, and now he brings his primary weapons to bear. His head pulls back, his jaw opening to an impossible, terrifying gape of over 120 degrees. It's an anatomical specialization that modern cats with their paltry 65-degree gape can only dream of. For a moment, his face is a mask of murderous intent, framed by the two gleaming 6-inch daggers of his canines. And then he strikes. Not a snap, but a deliberate, powerful downward plunge of the head driven by neck muscles so thick they make him look like a feline bodybuilder. He is attempting to drive those teeth through your armor. The impact is deafening. It's not a puncture, it's a detonation. A sharp, explosive crack that is both a sound and a physical shockwave. You feel a spike of pure, concentrated force on your left flank, a sensation so intense it's almost abstract. But it doesn't go through. The tip of the saber-tooth, one of the most fearsome weapons in the history of life on Earth, has met the geodesic dome of your carapace, and the dome has won. The cat lets out a pained, furious hiss and recoils. He has failed, and he may have just damaged one of his most precious assets. Your shell is an absolute marvel of passive resistance. Like the sloped armor on early ironclad warships, such as the CSS Virginia at the 1862 Battle of Hampton Roads, its curved surface is designed to deflect incoming force. A projectile, whether a cannonball or a canine tooth, is far more likely to glance off a rounded surface than to penetrate a flat one. The Smilodon's tooth didn't hit square on. It hit a curve, and the force was instantly turned aside. But that's only the first layer of your defense. The point of impact itself, a single osteoderm, absorbed the initial shock. The force was then immediately shunted sideways into the surrounding bony plates through their tightly fused zigzag sutures. The pressure wave from a blow that should have shattered a single point was instead distributed across a dozen, then 100, then the entire structure of the dome, dissipating into harmlessness. It's the same principle as modern composite armor, which uses layers of ceramic and metal to shatter and absorb the energy of an anti-tank round. You are a low-tech biological Chobham armor. This is the central flaw in the debate over the Smilodon's killing method. Whether it was a puncture, a shear, or a grapple and bite, the technique relied on the teeth sinking into something soft. Flesh-hide muscle. The predator's entire toolkit is rendered useless against your body. Biting you is a catastrophic mistake. It's a fun but slightly odd fact that the La Brea tar pits, famous for their Smilodon fossils, are also full of broken Smilodon teeth. Paleontologists find thousands of them. It's clear that these cats lived hard, violent lives and that their iconic weapons were constantly at risk. Every hunt was a gamble, and biting a living rock like you is a sucker's bet. The Smilodon, panting now, saliva dripping from its maw, looks at you with a new expression. The cold, focused intensity is gone, replaced by a flicker of what might be confusion or even outrage. You are a violation of the natural order. You are a meal that fights back by doing nothing at all. He is a creature of elegant, brutal efficiency, and you are a monument to stubborn, inefficient, and utterly infuriating resilience. He shakes his head, a gesture of frustration, and you can see a tiny chip of white enamel near the tip of his right canine, a testament to his failed assault. He has been defeated not by strength or speed, but by superior engineering. The irresistible force has just bounced off the immovable object, and it clearly has a headache. The Smilodon is intelligent. Frustration gives way to calculation. The direct assault has failed. The bite was a fool's errand, but he is not giving up. He has invested too much energy, and his chipped tooth is a stinging reminder of his miscalculation. He changes his tactics. The focus is no longer on your back, on the impenetrable dome. His attention shifts to the margins, the borderlands where bone meets earth. He begins to push, not with the explosive force of a pounce, but with a steady grinding pressure. His goal is no longer to break the fortress, but to get inside it. He is looking for the door. And you know with a sudden, sickening wave of primal dread that you have a door. Your carapace is a near-perfect defense, but it is not a complete sphere. It has a bottom. Underneath your magnificent bony vault, you are nothing but soft flesh and vulnerable organs. Your belly, hidden from the sun and sky, is a pale, wrinkled expanse of skin as soft and unprotected as a newborn. This is your great secret, your fatal flaw. You are a walking contradiction, an impregnable fortress built on a foundation of pure vulnerability. Like the mythological hero Achilles, whose mother dipped him in the river Styx to make him invincible, but forgot to coat the heel she was holding him by, you have a single catastrophic weak spot. An attack on any other part of your body is a mild inconvenience. An attack there is the end. The cat is now trying to get a purchase to hook his massive clawed paws under the rim of your shell. You feel the scrape and pull at your flank, a terrifying sensation that is completely new. It's no longer just pressure, it's leverage. He is trying to pry you open to lift an edge just enough to get access to the soft prize within. This forces a change in your entire defensive philosophy. Hunkering down is no longer enough. Bracing against the impact is useless. You have to move. You have to counter his leverage with your own weight, shifting your immense bulk to keep the edge of your shell flush with the ground. It becomes a slow, desperate, high-stakes wrestling match. He pushes you lean. He shoves you shuffle. The debate rages among paleontologists. Did the great predators of the Americas, the dire wolves, the short-faced bears, the saber-toothed cats evolve specific techniques to hunt armored prey like you? Some argue that the immense power of a Smilodon's forelimbs wasn't just for grappling bison, it was for flipping Glyptodons. Imagine the scene: a cat unable to bite through the top, using its entire body weight and immense strength to simply roll the 2-ton animal onto its back, exposing its soft underbelly. Others argue that this is mechanically unlikely, that no predator would risk the injuries involved in such a dangerous maneuver. But as you feel the cat's shoulder digging into your side, trying to get underneath you, you know that the theory has merit. He is absolutely trying to flip you over. This vulnerability is a common theme in the world of armored animals. Take the humble hedgehog. When threatened, it rolls into a tight ball of spikes, a near-perfect defense. But experienced predators like badgers have learned the trick. A badger will use its long, powerful claws to carefully unroll the hedgehog, exposing the soft face and belly. It's a battle of wits and specialized tools. For the Smilodon, his tools are brute strength and leverage. He is trying to unroll you. It's an almost comical image, but the reality is a life-or-death struggle. The pufferfish, another armored marvel, has a similar problem. It inflates with water, becoming a big, spiky, inedible ball. But if a predator can attack it before it's inflated, or if it has teeth strong enough to puncture the uninflated skin, the defense is useless. Your defense is always deployed, but your undercarriage is a permanent, non-inflatable weak spot. The struggle continues. The cat is heaving, growling with effort. You are a mass of straining muscles, your pillar-like legs digging into the earth, your whole body locked in a contest of stability. The static defense has failed. The era of passive resistance is over. You are now in an active, desperate fight for your life, and the rules have just changed completely. The game is no longer about the strength of your armor, but about keeping your soft, secret belly pressed firmly to the ground. The world is reduced to a single point of pressure on your flank. The Smilodon is a straining, panting engine of muscle, his entire body dedicated to the single absurd task of upending a boulder. You dig in your short, thick legs, trembling with the effort. Your claws, normally used for traction during your ponderous walks, are now anchors holding you to the continent. The ground beneath you churns soft dirt, giving way as you resist the relentless sideways force. This isn't a fight of bites and claws anymore. It is a contest of pure physics, a brutal application of mass and leverage. The Greek mathematician Archimedes, thousands of years in your future, would famously boast, "Give me a place to stand and a lever long enough, and I will move the world." The Smilodon is currently searching for that place to stand. His claws are the lever, and your own body is the world he is trying to move. He just needs a fulcrum, a rock, a dip in the ground, anything to give his push the mechanical advantage it needs to overcome your immense inertia. You feel him shifting his weight, testing different angles, a terrifyingly intelligent engineer of violence looking for a flaw in your foundation. You are locked in this bizarre, silent struggle, a pushing match of immense consequence. It's far removed from the dramatic swinging blows of other animal conflicts. Male giraffes, for instance, engage in a combat called necking, where they swing their massive heads and necks at each other like fleshy wrecking balls. The impacts can be powerful enough to knock a rival unconscious or even kill him. It's a strangely elegant yet brutal form of fighting. Your current situation has none of that elegance. It's a grunting, grinding, undignified shoving match, a heavyweight wrestling bout where the only move is to lean. Suddenly, a terrifying new thought enters your mind, a cold spike of fear that cuts through the strain. What if he's not alone? The evidence from the La Brea tar pits is ambiguous, and so paleontologists still debate the social structure of Smilodon. Were they solitary hunters like most modern cats, or did they form social groups like lions? Finding multiple individuals trapped together in the asphalt could mean they were a family or pride caught while trying to help one another. Or it could just mean they were all independently attracted to the same struggling prey. As the cat strains against you, his breath coming in ragged, steaming gasps, you find yourself praying he was a lonely, friendless introvert. The thought of another one of these muscle-bound assassins joining the effort, one pushing while another pulls, is too horrifying to contemplate. He finds it, a slight depression in the ground under your left side, a place where the earth is softer. He repositions, digging his shoulder in, and suddenly the pressure changes. It's no longer just a shove, it's a lift. You feel the left side of your carapace, the side with the fresh scratch mark from his chipped tooth rise. It's a horrifying sensation, like the solid ground turning to liquid beneath you. The world tilts, just an inch, then two. Your right side legs strain your claws, scoring deep gouges in the earth, but your center of gravity is shifting. The cat roars, a triumphant, guttural sound of effort meeting success. He has his lever. He has his place to stand. You are at the tipping point. The horizon, once a steady, reliable line, is starting to cant at a nauseating angle. You feel a lightness on one side, a terrifying weightlessness that promises a catastrophic final roll onto your back, exposing your soft, defenseless belly to the sky and to the waiting monster. The world goes sideways. The horizon is a drunken smear, and you feel the sickening lurch of irreversible momentum. The Smilodon roars a sound of victory. Your life is measured in seconds. And then the world shakes. It's not the shake of the cat's struggles, but a deep, rhythmic tremor that travels through the ground, a bass note so low you feel it in your teeth. Thump, thump, thump. The sound is accompanied by the cracking of branches and a low, guttural grunt that makes the cat's roar sound like a kitten's mew. The Smilodon freezes. The upward pressure on your shell vanishes. He turns his head, his predatory focus instantly shifting from you to the source of the disturbance. From your tilted, terrified perspective, you see two things. First, a pair of immense pillar-like legs covered in coarse, shaggy brown hair, ending in feet so large they look like hairy shovels. Second, you see a set of claws. They are not the sharp, retractable daggers of a cat. They are enormous, curving scythes of bone and keratin, each one nearly a foot long, permanently fixed and designed for hooking, not slicing. The newcomer ambles into the clearing. It is a giant ground sloth. Not the cute, slow-moving meme you're thinking of, but Megatherium americanum, the great beast. He is colossal, rising over 12 feet tall when he stands on his hind legs, which he does now, with an unsettling fluid ease. He dwarfs the Smilodon, outweighing him by several tons. He is a walking mountain of fur and muscle, and he looks profoundly annoyed, like he was just woken up from a very good nap. This is no longer a predator-prey interaction. This is a heavyweight title fight, and you are the very nervous dome-shaped ring. The arrival of this giant completely changes the dynamic, much like the unexpected entry of the Prussian army at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, which turned the tide against Napoleon. The Smilodon had a clear plan: flip the Glyptodon, eat the Glyptodon. Now he has a new, much larger problem that requires an immediate and stressful recalculation. He lets out a low warning hiss baring his famous teeth. The sloth is unimpressed. It lets out another low grunt and takes a step forward, its immense weight making the ground tremble. This interaction is at the heart of a heated academic debate. For centuries, Megatherium was thought to be a gentle leaf-eating giant. But some paleontologists have looked at its massive claws, its powerful build, and its robust teeth, and have proposed a more sinister lifestyle. Could it have been an opportunistic carnivore? Or even more compellingly, a kleptoparasite, a creature that used its immense size not to hunt, but to simply show up and steal kills from smaller, more efficient predators like Smilodon? Think of it as the biggest, furriest bully in the school cafeteria, just taking whatever lunch it wants. From your tilted viewpoint, the theory seems entirely plausible. The sloth isn't looking at you. He's looking at the cat, and the cat is looking at him. It's a standoff of epic proportions, a silent negotiation of risk versus reward. For the Smilodon, attacking the sloth is a terrible idea. Those giant claws could disembowel him with a single swipe, and the size difference is absurd. It would be like a bobcat trying to fight a grizzly bear. The weirdest thing about your sloth cousins is their ridiculously low metabolic rate, which means they do everything slowly. Except it turns out when they are defending themselves. This one seems quite capable of a surprising burst of violence. The first Megatherium skeleton discovered in Argentina in 1788 so baffled European scientists that they initially assembled it to walk on all fours like a normal mammal and stand on the sides of its feet. They simply couldn't conceive of a bipedal, 20-foot-tall sloth. The truth, as the one standing before you demonstrates, was far stranger and more imposing. He could rear up, using his thick tail as a third leg of a tripod, and bring his enormous clawed hands to bear on anything that bothered him. The Smilodon, a creature of pure predatory instinct, makes a wise decision. He is an apex predator, but he is not stupid. A guaranteed meal is not worth a guaranteed disembowelment. With a final frustrated snarl directed at the sloth, he backs away. He gives you one last hateful glare, a look that clearly says, "This isn't over," and then melts back into the brush. The sloth watches him go, then turns its small head, looks at you in your ridiculous half-tilted state, and seems to lose interest completely. With a world-weary sigh, it drops back to all fours and ambles away in search of a less dramatic place to eat trees. You are left alone, your heart hammering your shell at a 30-degree angle, and your entire worldview completely shattered. You were just saved by a grumpy, oversized tree stripper who was probably just trying to scare the cat away from his favorite scratching post. For a long time, you don't move. You remain in your undignified, precarious tilt, listening to the silence of the empty savanna. The adrenaline from the encounter begins to fade, replaced by a deep, trembling exhaustion and the dull ache of strained muscles. Righting yourself is a monumental task. It requires a series of slow, coordinated movements, a rocking motion that feels both unnatural and deeply strenuous. You push with the legs on your low side, digging your claws into the churned-up earth while pulling with the legs on your high side. It's like trying to get up after fainting in a suit of armor. Finally, with a heavy groaning lurch, your carapace settles back into its proper horizontal alignment. You stand there for a full minute, your body humming with the aftershock of the ordeal, before the primal urge to find food overrides the memory of terror. You shuffle away from the scene of your near demise, your brain a simple circuit board of negative association. This place is bad. Leave this place. You move toward a patch of lower-lying ground where the vegetation looks richer, lusher. The air is still, and your confidence begins to return with each ponderous step. You are, after all, a Glyptodon. You are a walking fortress. The Smilodon was a fluke, an anomaly. You survived. That's what you do. As you lower your head to tear at a particularly inviting-looking shrub, a new scent fills your nostrils. It's not the sharp musk of a predator. It's a familiar smell. It's the smell of you. Another Glyptodon. He is larger than you, a massive bull with a carapace scarred and pitted from 100 forgotten battles. His rosette patterns are worn smooth in places, and one of the spikes on his tail club is chipped at the tip. He stands over the patch of prime vegetation, and as you approach, he turns his entire body to face you. There is no greeting. There is no acknowledgement. There is only a silent, unambiguous challenge. This is his patch, his food, his territory. You flush with the residual aggression of your recent fight for survival. Do not back down. This is the other side of the evolutionary arms race. The armor, the tail club, the sheer bulk, these features didn't just evolve to deal with predators. They evolved to deal with each other. This brings us back to that great academic debate, predator defense or intraspecific competition. The truth, as is often the case in biology, is likely both. Your weapons are for anyone who poses a threat, whether it's a hungry cat or a greedy neighbor. The ensuing conflict has the formal, ritualized air of a human duel, like the infamous 1804 duel between Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton, a deadly serious affair governed by a strict set of unspoken rules. The two of you begin to circle each other a slow geological waltz. Your heads are tucked low, presenting the thickest part of your skull armor. Your tails are held off the ground, tensed and ready. The posturing is everything. It's a negotiation conducted in the language of sheer physical presence. You are both calculating, assessing. Is the potential reward this patch of shrubs worth the risk of injury? In many animal species, courtship and conflict are bizarrely intertwined. Male porcupines, for example, will douse a prospective female with a fire hose-like stream of urine. If she's impressed, she'll accept his advances. It's a weird, messy, and frankly unappealing system, but it works for them. Your own rituals are less moist. They are about demonstrating power and a willingness to use it. The other bull decides the posturing is over. He plants his feet, and with a grunt that seems to come from the very center of the earth, he swings his tail. It's not the frantic, desperate swing of a creature in fear. It is a deliberate, powerful, bone-breaking arc of violence. You see it coming, a slow-motion wrecking ball, and you brace, turning your flank toward the blow. The impact is a sound you feel in your soul, a deep, resonant bong like a cracked church bell. The force radiates through your entire carapace, a violent, full-body vibration that leaves you momentarily stunned. It's a different kind of impact than the cat's bite. The cat's bite was a focused, sharp pressure. This is a concussive blast, a blow, designed to shatter, not to puncture. You feel a deep, throbbing ache spread across your flank. The armor held, but only just. Now it's your turn. You plant your own feet, swing your hips, and unleash your own tail club. It connects with his side with the same sickening, resonant clang. He stumbles, his immense body knocks sideways a few inches. He is bigger, but you are still riding the ragged edge of your near-death experience, and you swing with a furious, desperate power. The two of you stand there for a moment, two living fortresses that have just proven their own designs. The air hangs heavy with the smell of ozone and aggression. The question has been answered. Your weapons are for predators, and they are most definitely for each other. The stalemate hangs in the air, thick and heavy. Neither of you moves. The big bull, having taken your best shot, seems to reconsider the value of this particular patch of shrubs. The cost-benefit analysis he's running in his small, well-protected brain comes up negative. With a low grunt that is the Glyptodon equivalent of a muttered curse, he turns and shuffles away, leaving you as the sole proprietor of the contested vegetation. You don't feel triumphant. You feel a deep, bone-jarring ache in your left flank where his tail club connected. It's more than just a surface bruise. It's a profound internal trauma, a percussion wave that is echoed through every fused vertebra in your body. This injury will stay with you. It is now a part of your story, a permanent record of violence written in bone. Millions of years from now, a paleontologist will unearth your fossilized carapace. They will brush away the dirt and see it a circular, depressed fracture on your left side, a perfect concave dent in the otherwise convex dome of your shell. They will measure it. They will notice that the size and shape of the fracture perfectly match the business end of another Glyptodon's tail club. Your shell, your greatest defense, will become a piece of forensic evidence. It will be a silent witness to the brutal reality of your life, telling a story of a violent encounter with one of your own kind. This is not speculation. We find these fossils. Carapaces bearing the unmistakable signature of tail club impacts are surprisingly common. Some specimens show multiple healed fractures, a lifetime of violent disagreements etched into their skeletons. Each dent is a data point, a frozen moment of combat. This practice of reading stories in old bones is called paleopathology. It's like being a cold case detective where the victim has been dead for 2 million years. We see similar evidence in human remains. The mass graves from the Battle of Towton in 1461, one of the bloodiest battles in the English Wars of the Roses, are filled with skeletons showing horrific weapon trauma. Skulls are caved in by war hammers, vertebrae are cleaved by sword blows. The bones tell a gruesome story of face-to-face intimate brutality. Your own carapace tells the same kind of story, just with different weapons and a much slower pace. There is, of course, a debate. Could something else have caused these injuries? Could a falling boulder create such a perfect circular dent? Could a kick from a giant sloth? It's unlikely. The fractures are too specific, too consistent across different specimens. The simplest explanation, and the one that fits the evidence best, is that you and your kin spent a considerable amount of time whacking each other with giant spiked bone clubs. It seems your species' primary hobby was a form of slow-motion, high-stakes croquet. Occasionally, the fossil record gives us an even more astonishingly direct snapshot of prehistoric violence. The famous fighting dinosaurs fossil from Mongolia preserved a velociraptor and a protoceratops locked in mortal combat, buried together mid-struggle by a collapsing sand dune. The raptor has its killing claw embedded in the herbivore's neck, while the protoceratops has the raptor's arm clamped in its powerful beak. It's a perfect violent tableau. Your dented shell is a less dramatic but no less informative version of the same thing. It is the fossilized evidence of a bad day. An off-color but accurate way to think about it is that your back is basically a prehistoric police blotter recording every assault and battery you survived. You lower your head, the deep ache in your flank, a new unwelcome companion. You begin to eat the shrubs you fought for. They taste of victory but also of pain. The damage to your shell is not just a scar, it is a weakness. The bone is crushed. The intricate mosaic of osteoderms is compromised. It will heal slowly with new bone growing to patch the damage, but it will never be as strong as it was. From now on, that spot will be a vulnerability, a pre-existing condition that a predator or another rival could potentially exploit. The fortress has a crack in its wall, and you are the one who has to live inside it. The sun climbs to its zenith, a merciless, white-hot coin in a bleached blue sky. The heat is no longer a gentle warmth. It is a physical presence, a crushing weight that compounds the already immense burden of your own body. You feel the heat baking the top of your carapace, the bones soaking up the thermal energy until it's hot enough to fry an egg on, if eggs or frying pans had been invented yet. You are a walking solar oven. Inside the shell, ahi air is stagnant, humid, and thick with the smell of your own slow-cooking flesh. The deep ache from the tail club blow now has a new companion, a low-grade oppressive heat that seems to radiate from the bone itself. Your armor is a paradox. It protects you from the sun's rays, preventing a sunburn on your delicate skin, but it also transforms you into a giant mobile heat sink. The massive bony structure is slow to warm up in the morning, leaving you sluggish and cold. But once it gets hot, it's even slower to cool down. In the cool of the evening, you will radiate this stored heat like a clay oven, a temporary advantage. But now at midday, you are simply cooking. You can't sweat. You can't pant effectively. Your only option is to find shade, a rare and valuable commodity on these open plains, and wait for the planet to turn. This brings up another of the great unresolved debates about your lifestyle. Was your carapace a radiator or an insulator? Some paleontologists have argued that the vast surface area of the shell, rich with blood vessels, could have acted like a giant radiator, allowing you to dump excess heat into the environment, much like the huge ears of an elephant. Others argue the opposite, that the thick bone was a phenomenal insulator, protecting you from extreme temperatures, both hot and cold. The frustrating answer is that it was probably both, and that it wasn't particularly good at either. It was a compromise, a structural feature that came with a host of thermal side effects that you simply had to live with. It's like having a car with an amazing stereo system, but the volume knob is permanently stuck at a mildly uncomfortable level. You watch a stork land gracefully by a nearby waterhole. It stands in the shimmering heat, and then in a move of profound practicality, it defecates on its own long, scaly legs. This is a process called urohydrosis. The evaporating liquid waste cools the blood flowing through the stork's legs, providing a surprisingly effective form of air conditioning. You look at the stork, then feel the suffocating heat inside your own shell, and for a brief moment, you wonder if the bird is onto something. Thankfully, your dignity and your anatomy prevent you from even attempting such a thing. The real danger of your thermal inefficiency isn't a hot day, it's a sudden cold snap. In 1815, the eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia threw so much ash into the atmosphere that it caused a global volcanic winter. The following year, 1816, became known as the year without a summer. Snow fell in June and New England crops failed across Europe, and mass famine ensued. For a highly specialized animal like you, an animal built to withstand and store heat, such an event would be an extinction-level catastrophe. You are built for a world with a stable thermostat. If someone were to suddenly turn the temperature down, your massive heat-radiating shell would become a fatal liability, bleeding your precious warmth into a cold and unforgiving world. You finally find what you're looking for: the sparse, dappled shade of a lone, scraggly tree. It's not much, but it's enough. You position your body so the dent in your flank is out of the direct sun and lower yourself to the ground with a weary groan. The relief is immediate and profound. The simple act of getting out of the direct sunlight is like a cool drink of water. You close your eyes, your world reduced to the throbbing ache in your side and the oppressive, stagnant heat inside your personal bone igloo. Your armor protects you from teeth and claws, but it offers no defense against the tyranny of the sun. It is a shield, but it is also a furnace. The shade is a temporary mercy, but it doesn't solve the core problem. The heat isn't just external, it's internal. Your massive gut, a fermentation factory, generates its own prodigious warmth, and now combined with the ambient temperature, you are dangerously close to overheating. A deeper thirst than you have ever known begins to assert itself. You need water. Not just a sip, but a deep, cooling immersion. Your instincts pull you to your feet, the ache in your flank, a dull, protesting throb, and you begin to shuffle toward the one place you know will offer relief: the river. The bank is steep, a slick, muddy ramp leading down to the brown, swirling water. For a creature built like you, this is a treacherous obstacle. Your short, stumpy legs and low center of gravity are great for stability on flat ground, but they offer little grace or agility on a slope. There is no elegant way to do this. You plant your front feet at the edge, feel the mud begin to give way, and with a sense of grim inevitability, you slide. It's an undignified, half-controlled toboggan ride that ends with a tremendous kathoosh as your 2-ton body hits the water, sending a colossal wave washing up on the opposite bank. The initial shock of the cool water against your hot carapace is pure bliss. It's a full-body sigh of relief, the sizzling heat of your armor instantly quenched. But the bliss is short-lived. A new and far more terrifying sensation takes over buoyancy, or rather the distinct lack of it. You are a creature made of bone and dense muscle carrying a 1,000-pound rock on your back. You sink like one. You are without question the least hydrodynamic object in the entire river. The water which you thought would be your salvation is now trying to kill you. The current, stronger than it looked from the bank, grabs hold of your massive, unstreamlined body and begins to pull you downstream. This is the great unanswered question of Glyptodon life. How did you cross a river? It's a subject of intense academic debate. Biomechanical models struggle to make you float. It's possible that your large lungs and gut cavity provided just enough buoyancy to keep your head above water, allowing you to paddle clumsily with your legs. But there's another more compelling theory. You might have done what hippos do. Contrary to popular belief, hippos are terrible swimmers. They are too dense. Instead, they walk or gallop along the bottom of the river, holding their breath for minutes at a time. It's an absurd yet effective method of locomotion, a kind of prehistoric river scooting. You feel your feet touch the slimy, rock-strewn bottom. This is the only option. You can't swim, you must walk. Each step is a battle. The current shoves you sideways, threatening to roll you over. If you get turned sideways to the flow, your broad, flat side will act like a sail, and the river will flip you, a catastrophic event from which there is no recovery. Your situation is grimly similar to the sinking of the English warship the Mary Rose in 1545. It was a state-of-the-art vessel, a floating fortress. But during a sharp turn in battle, a gust of wind caught it, heeling it over so far that water poured into its lower gun ports. It sank in minutes. You are that top-heavy, over-armored ship, and the river is a constant, powerful wind threatening to find your weak point and push you past the point of no return. Your claws scrape against the riverbed, searching for purchase. The water muffles the sound, turning the world into a rushing brown silence. Your view is nothing but swirling silt and the occasional ghostly shape of a fish darting past. You are a submarine with no propulsion and a major leak. You can only hold your breath for so long. Panic begins to bubble in your chest, a cold counterpoint to the heat that drove you here. This is a race. Your legs strain, your lungs burn. The far bank seems a mile away. Your armor, your greatest asset, is now a lead weight trying to drown you. It is a stark reminder that every defense has a context, and outside of that context, it can become your most fatal flaw. With a final desperate heave, your front feet find purchase on the muddy slope of the far bank. You drag your immense waterlogged body out of the river, your lungs burning, your heart hammering against the inside of your shell. You collapse on the bank, a sodden, shivering heap of bone and exhaustion. You have survived. But as you lie there, gasping, a new scent cuts through the familiar smells of mud and wet vegetation. It's a smell you have never encountered before, but one that your deepest, most ancient instincts register as wrong. It is the smell of smoke, the smell of burning wood, the smell of things being deliberately changed. You lift your head. 50 yards away, near a small stand of trees, there is a flicker of orange light, a tiny captive sun, dancing in the late afternoon. And around it there are figures. They are shockingly upright, moving with a fluid, bipedal grace that is alien to you. They are small, comically so. You've seen baby ground sloths that are larger. They are mostly hairless, their pale skin covered in animal hides that hang loosely from their shoulders. They are a new kind of predator, a kind for which you have no evolutionary context. They are humans. For a long time, the dominant theory for the peopling of the Americas was the Clovis first model. It proposed that the first humans arrived around 13,000 years ago, crossing the Bering Land Bridge and spreading south, their presence marked by distinctive, beautifully fluted spear points. But archaeological sites like Monte Verde in southern Chile have shattered that timeline, with evidence of human occupation dating back at least 14 out of 500 years, maybe even earlier. This means that by the time you are collapsing on this riverbank, these strange upright apes have been a part of your world for generations, a quiet, persistent new variable in the ecological equation. They haven't noticed you yet. They are preoccupied, their attention focused on the fire and on the long, thin sticks they hold in their hands. They are talking, making a series of complex, modulated sounds that are nothing like the grunts and roars you're used to. It's a language. You don't understand the words, but you understand the intent. They are communicating. They are coordinating. And you, a creature of pure, simple instinct, suddenly feel profoundly out of your depth. A pack of dire wolves is a problem of physics and endurance. A smilodon is a problem of leverage and armor. These creatures, they are a problem of intellect. One of them turns and sees you. He doesn't roar. He doesn't charge. He lets out a sharp two-note call that makes the others turn. They all look at you. Their eyes are not the golden predatory slits of the cat, but dark, inquisitive, and unsettlingly intelligent. They are not afraid of you. They are not intimidated by your size or your armor. They look at you the way a modern engineer might look at a complex piece of machinery they are about to disassemble. They see a resource, a walking pantry, a mobile shelter. The question of what caused the extinction of the Pleistocene megafauna animals, like you, the mammoths, the ground sloths, is one of the most contentious debates in paleontology. Was it the rapidly changing climate at the end of the last ice age? Or was it the arrival of these small, clever spear-carrying apes? This is the overkill hypothesis, the idea that humans as a new and hyper-efficient predator swept through the Americas and hunted these giant animals to extinction. The truth is probably a messy combination of both, but as you watch these creatures pick up their long, sharpened sticks, you get a chilling feeling that they are at the very least a significant contributing factor. They are surprisingly small. The so-called cavemen of popular imagination are often depicted as hulking, brutish giants. But the fossil record tells a different story. Many Paleolithic humans were quite short by modern standards, often barely over 5 feet tall. The creatures looking at you now are not physically imposing. They are frail, soft, unarmored. You could crush any one of them with a single clumsy step. But they have fire, they have language, and they have spears. And you, for the first time in your heavily armored, overconfident life, feel a new, cold, and deeply intellectual kind of fear. The humans don't attack. This, more than anything else, unnerves you. A predator attacks. It is a simple, universal truth. But these creatures just watch. They spread out their movements, economical and deliberate, forming a loose patient cordon. They hold their sharpened sticks not with aggressive tension, but with a casual readiness, like a tool they have held 1,000 times before. Your entire defensive playbook, hunker down, brace for impact, swingtail is useless against an enemy that refuses to engage on your terms. They are not fighting you. They are problem-solving you. The hunt begins not with a charge, but with a pebble. One of the humans, a female with long matted hair, bends down, picks up a stone the size of your eye, and lobs it at you. It's a pathetically weak gesture. The stone makes a dull thock sound as it bounces harmlessly off your carapace. It's less than an annoyance. It's insulting. Then another stone hits your other side, and another. They are not trying to injure you. They are hurting you. Each small irritating impact is a suggestion, a gentle nudge away from the open plains and back towards the treacherous, muddy riverbank you just escaped. This is a strategy of profound patience, a siege of attrition that would have been familiar to the defenders of the city of Tyre in 332 BC. When Alexander the Great arrived, he couldn't assault the island fortress directly, so he began one of the most ambitious engineering projects in military history. He built a causeway, a land bridge across half a mile of open sea. His soldiers day after day dumped rocks and timber into the water, slowly, relentlessly changing the landscape itself until they could bring their siege engines to the city walls. These humans are doing the same to you. They are not trying to break your walls. They are changing the battlefield one insignificant pebble at a time to force you onto ground where your walls don't matter. You resist. You plant your feet and refuse to be moved. You swing your tail in a wide warning arc, the clubbed end whistling through the air. They simply step back just out of range, their movements calm and unhurried. They are not intimidated by your display. They have seen it before. They wait for your swing to finish, and then another pebble hits your flank. It's maddening. You are a 2-ton engine of destruction, a living battle tank, and you are being outmaneuvered by a handful of creatures who weigh less than your tail. This is a form of persistence hunting, but adapted for an armored target. Early humans were incredible endurance athletes capable of tracking and chasing fleet-footed animals for hours or even days under the hot sun until the prey collapsed from hyperthermia. This was possible because of a quirky human superpower, sweating. Humans have an unusually high density of eccrine sweat glands, allowing us to shed heat with incredible efficiency. Most other mammals can't, so in a long-distance race, they will eventually overheat. You can't run, but these humans have adapted the principle. They will simply outlast you, not by running you down, but by wearing you down by exploiting your weaknesses with relentless, low-level harassment. There is an ongoing academic debate about how early Paleo-Indians hunted megafauna. Was it a blitzkrieg of aggressive close-quarter spear attacks, or a sitzkrieg, a war of attrition using traps, terrain, and patience? Finding a Clovis point among the ribs of a mammoth is dramatic evidence, but it doesn't tell the whole story. How did they get close enough to use the spear? Your current predicament suggests the sitzkrieg model is very much on the table. They are using their superior intelligence and coordination to create a situation where the final killing blow is a foregone conclusion. They are winning. The constant irritating thuds of the stones, the patient watchful eyes, the way they subtly block your passive escape, it's a net woven of intelligence, and it is tightening around you. You are being pushed step by shuffling step back toward the slick, treacherous mud of the river. The open ground where your armor gives you the advantage is behind them. The river where your armor becomes a death sentence is in front of you. The spears have not yet been thrown. They don't need to be. The trap is almost set. The hunters are not just hunting an animal. They are executing a plan. Your back feet slip. The soft, treacherous mud of the riverbank gives way, and your immense weight becomes a liability. Your frantic struggle to regain footing only serves to dig you deeper into the mire. The humans stop throwing stones. They don't need to. Their work is done. They have used the landscape itself as a weapon, turning your own bulk against you. You are stuck. Tilted at a dangerous angle, your legs churning uselessly in the thick mud, you expose the one area your fortress of a body cannot protect, your soft, wrinkled underbelly. The humans approach their movements no longer patient, but filled with a swift, deadly purpose. The spears are lowered. They don't aim for the carapace, a pointless gesture. They aim for the gaps, the soft flesh around your struggling legs, the vulnerable expanse of your belly. You feel a series of sharp, piercing sensations, quick and brutally efficient. It's not the crushing blow of a predator's jaw or the concussive force of a rival's tail. It is a precise, calculated, and deeply personal kind of violence. There is no roar of triumph from the hunters, only the quiet, focused grunts of a job being done. Your world, once a panorama of swaying grass and open sky, narrows to a terrifying view of mudwater and the intent faces of your killers. Then it fades to black. The story of your body, however, is far from over. As your consciousness winks out, the narrative shifts. The humans work with practiced skill, their stone-tipped tools flashing in the fading light. They are not wasteful. Every part of you is a resource. The meat, a mountain of protein, is carved away in huge slabs. The thick hide of your underbelly will become clothing or shelter. Even your guts, a detail often glossed over, could be cleaned and used as water containers or storage bags, nature's Tupperware. This scene, this butchering of a giant armored beast by a band of small clever apes, is the focus of intense archaeological study. Sites like Campo Laborde in the Pampas of Argentina provide a snapshot of this very activity. Their paleontologists found the remains of not just one, but multiple megafaunal animals, including a Glyptodon, alongside a rich assemblage of stone tools. It is a 12,000-year-old crime scene. But even after the meat is gone and the bones have been scattered, your greatest contribution to your killer's survival remains. Your carapace, a 1,000-pound dome of interlocking bone. It is too heavy to move, too dense to break down for tools. It is, for all intents and purposes, a piece of geology that used to be an animal. And so they leave it where it lies. After they have feasted, after they have packed away the meat and scraped the hides, they turn their attention to this magnificent empty shell. It is a perfect prefabricated structure, a natural yurt. This is not fantasy. Archaeological sites across South America have found human artifacts, stone tools, charcoal from ancient fires, the bones of other smaller animals inside the empty shells of glyptodonts. The evidence is clear. Early humans used your armor as a temporary home. It's a point that sparks debate among researchers. Were these shells from animals they hunted, or were they simply opportunistic finds like a hermit crab finding a new shell on the beach? Given the effort required to kill you, it seems unlikely they'd waste the best part of the kill. Why hunt for a house when you've just made one? One of the humans brings a burning branch from the main fire and uses it to smoke out the inside of your empty shell, driving out insects and any lingering scent of death. The dent on your left flank, a memento from your earlier fight, is now a distinctive feature on the wall of their new home. They have found the ultimate prize in Pleistocene real estate, a move-in, ready predator-proof studio apartment with great natural insulation. That night, as the cold winds sweep across the plains, the humans huddle inside your bony dome, warmed by a small fire built just outside the entrance. Your fortress, which ultimately failed to protect you, is now protecting them. It is the final brutal irony of your existence. Your life's greatest work, your evolutionary masterpiece, has become a house for the very creatures who ended you. The fire inside your carapace-turned hut flickers out. The humans move on, following the herds or the seasons. The river floods, burying your shell in a thick blanket of Elton mud. The pressure builds. Millennia pass like seasons. The organic material in your bones, the collagen, the proteins, slowly leaches away, replaced molecule by molecule with hard, patient minerals from the groundwater. Your body becomes stone. Your armor, already a geological feature in life, now truly joins the rock record. You are no longer just dead, you are a fossil. And now the real interrogation can begin. A new kind of predator, armed not with spears, but with rock hammers and dental picks, finds you 12,000 years later. We brush away the last of the Pleistocene mud marvel at the perfect dome note, the dent from your territorial dispute, and the scrape from the Smilodon's tooth. But the real story, the intimate details of your life, are locked away in a code we've only recently learned to read. It's written not in the shape of your bones, but in their very chemistry. By drilling a tiny sample of bone from one of your osteoderms, a pinprick of powder from your 1,000-pound shield, we can reconstruct your world. This is the magic of stable isotope geochemistry. It works on a simple principle: you are what you eat and you are what you drink. As you munched on plants and drank from rivers, the atoms from that food and water were incorporated into your body, built into the very structure of your growing bones. And some of those atoms, specifically carbon and oxygen, came in different flavors or isotopes. By analyzing the ratio of these isotopes in your fossilized bone, we can create a posthumous menu of your last few years on Earth. It's a technology that owes its existence to the pioneering work of physicists like J.J. Thomson, who in 1913, while messing around with electrified gases in vacuum tubes, found the first evidence that elements could exist in different stable forms. He had no idea that a century later, his discovery would allow us to figure out the favorite food of a giant extinct armadillo. The carbon in your bones tells us what was on your plate. Plants have two main ways of doing photosynthesis, resulting in what we call C3 and C4 plants. C3 plants, like trees, shrubs, and herbs found in cool, wet climates, process carbon in a way that gives them a distinct isotopic signature. C4 plants, mostly grasses adapted to warm, dry, open environments, have a different signature. When we analyze the carbon isotope ratio in your bones, we see a clear preference for C4 plants. You weren't a delicate browser nibbling on leaves in the forest. You were a grazer, a lawnmower, a creature of the open savanna, chowing down on tough, silica-rich grasses. It's all there, a dietary diary written in atomic ink. The oxygen isotopes in your bones tell us about the water you drank. The ratio of heavy oxygen 18 to lighter oxygen 16 in rainwater changes depending on the climate. Water from hotter, drier regions has a different oxygen signature than water from cooler, wetter ones. Your bones absorb the signature of the local water source, effectively giving us a paleothermometer. Your bones tell us you lived in a world that was warm with distinct wet and dry seasons, a world very different from the frigid Ice Age landscapes further north. There is naturally an academic debate about the resolution of this data. How much time does one sample of your thick osteoderm bone represent? Is it an average of your diet over several years, a blended smoothie of your life's meals? Or can it capture seasonal changes, showing us that you ate more of one type of plant in the wet season and another in the dry? Some studies on modern animals show that this kind of seasonal detail can be teased out, but it's a field of ongoing research. But even without that fine-grained detail, the big picture is clear. This same chemical analysis has revealed grim details from human history. The ill-fated Franklin expedition of 1845, which vanished while searching for the Northwest Passage, was a mystery for over a century. But analysis of the crew's bones found years later revealed shockingly high levels of lead. The men were slowly being poisoned by the lead solder used to seal their canned food, a tragic case of cutting-edge technology leading to a slow, agonizing death. Your bones don't tell a story of such acute poisoning, but they tell a story of specialization. You were perfectly adapted to a specific diet in a specific environment. And that perfection, that unwavering commitment to C4 grasses in warm weather, would ultimately become your undoing. Your very existence, from your peg-like teeth to the 1,000-pound shell on your back, is the product of an eons-long war. This is the evolutionary arms race, a concept beautifully articulated by the Red Queen hypothesis, named after a character in Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass. The Red Queen tells Alice, "It takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place." In nature, this means that species must constantly adapt and evolve, not just to gain an advantage, but simply to survive against other evolving organisms. You didn't develop a carapace because it was fashionable. You developed it because something was trying to eat you. And as your armor got thicker, their teeth got stronger. As your tail club got heavier, their tactics got smarter. This cycle of one-upmanship is starkly visible in the fossil record. Your earliest ancestors were small, unassuming, armadillo-like creatures with flexible bands of bony scutes. They were moderately defended. But as new, more powerful predators emerged, like the giant flightless terror birds, with their massive axe-like beaks, your lineage responded. The armor thickened. The scutes began to fuse. The body grew larger. Then came the waves of predators from North America, crossing the newly formed Isthmus of Panama, bringing with them powerful, bone-crushing dogs and the ancestors of the saber-toothed cats. The race escalated. Your carapace became a solid dome. Your tail became a weapon. You were the biological equivalent of a nation pouring its entire GDP into its defense budget. This mirrors the great naval arms race between Britain and Germany in the years leading up to World War I. In 1906, Britain launched HMS Dreadnought, a revolutionary battleship, so powerful with its all-big gun armament and steam turbine engines that it instantly rendered every other battleship on the planet obsolete. Germany's response was to build its own dreadnoughts, which forced Britain to build even bigger and more powerful super dreadnoughts. This massively expensive, technologically driven cycle of escalation perfectly mirrors your own evolutionary story. Your carapace was a dreadnought. The Smilodon's powerful forelimbs for flipping you were the super dreadnought. Every adaptation on one side was a response to an innovation on the other. The debate among paleontologists here is one of push versus pull. Was your evolution primarily pushed by the need to defend against escalating predation? Or was it pulled by other factors like sexual selection, where males with slightly bigger shells or more impressive tail clubs were more successful at mating, driving the evolution of these traits independently of any predator? It's almost certainly a combination of both. After all, a feature that makes you more attractive to a mate and less attractive to a saber-tooth is a win-win. This kind of evolutionary arms race can lead to some truly bizarre places. Consider the humble duck. The males of many duck species have explosively everting, corkscrew-shaped phalluses, some of which can be as long as the duck's entire body. This isn't just for show, it's the result of a sexual arms race. Females evolved equally convoluted, corkscrew-shaped vaginas with dead-end pockets to thwart the attempts of undesirable males, giving them more control over who fathers their offspring. It's a strange and frankly quite personal example of the Red Queen's frantic, endless race. Your own arms race was less about convoluted plumbing and more about blunt force trauma, but the principle is the same. You as a single Glyptodon don't feel the grand sweep of this multi-million-year war. You feel its consequences. You feel the crushing weight of the armor your ancestors bequeathed you. You feel the metabolic demand of a body designed for a single purpose, to not be eaten. You are the end result of millions of years of escalating paranoia, a creature so perfectly adapted to surviving the threats of the past that you are exquisitely vulnerable to the threats of the future. The arms race has equipped you for a specific kind of war, a war of tooth and claw and bone. But a new war is coming, a war of shifting climates and disappearing grasslands, and for that war you have no weapons at all. The war's over, but the cost of maintaining the arsenal is bankrupting your body. The armor that protected you from the Smilodon and the rival Glyptodon is now waging a slow internal war against you. You live in a state of chronic low-grade pain that has become your new normal. It's not the sharp acute pain of a fresh injury, but a deep, grinding architectural ache. It is the pain of a body that has been pushed past its design specifications for its entire life. Your joints are the primary battlefield. The sheer relentless weight of your carapace, day after day, year after year, has worn down the cartilage in your hips, shoulders, and knees to a thin, frayed mess. Every step is a negotiation with agony. You feel a gritty, grinding sensation in your hip joints, a feeling of bone scraping against bone that sends a dull, nauseating shock wave up your fused spine. This is osteoarthritis, the inevitable consequence of carrying a fortress on your back. It's not a disease you caught, it's a condition you built osteoderm by osteoderm. This kind of pathology is common in the fossil record, but interpreting it is tricky. Paleopathologists still debate whether the bony growths and fused joints we see in many large extinct animals are signs of a specific disease like diffuse idiopathic skeletal hyperostosis DISH, or simply the natural consequence of extreme old age and immense weight. Was your crippling arthritis a sign of a sick individual, or was it just what being an old Glyptodon felt like? The bones can't tell us for sure, but from your perspective, the distinction is meaningless. It hurts all the same. You have in effect evolution's lifetime subscription to chronic pain. Your condition mirrors that of the notoriously unhealthy King Henry VIII of England. In his youth, he was a celebrated athlete, but a jousting accident in 1536 left him with chronic weeping ulcers on his legs that refused to heal. The constant pain combined with a rich diet and forced inactivity led to his famous obesity and a host of other ailments, including what was likely a severe case of gout. His own magnificent armor, which had protected him in his prime, became a gilded prison for a body that was failing from the inside out. Your carapace is no different. It is your glory and your curse, a suit of armor you can never ever take off. And then there's the itch, an maddening, unreachable itch deep under the thickest part of your shell, where the skin is always damp, always dark, and never sees the sun. It's a paradise for fungi, for mites, for parasites that have co-evolved to specialize in the unique humid ecosystem of the subcarapace environment. You can't scratch it. You can't roll in the dust to soothe it. All you can do is endure it, a constant low-level torment that is almost worse than the pain in your joints. It's a biological lawsuit waiting to happen. The most terrifying pathology, though, is the one you can't feel. Your body's commitment to growing bone is absolute. It's a genetic imperative. This is taken to a horrifying extreme in a rare human genetic disorder called fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva (FOP), where the body's repair mechanisms go haywire. Any minor injury, a bump, a bruise, even a muscle strain can trigger runaway bone growth, causing muscles, tendons, and ligaments to slowly turn into solid bone, locking the body into a second internal skeleton. You are a natural toned-down version of this. Your fused vertebrae, your solid dome, your armored tail, they are all the product of a body that prioritizes bone above all else. The price for this incredible defense is a body that is always on the verge of locking itself into a rigid living tomb. Your armor is not just something you wear. It is a process that is slowly consuming you. The aches in your joints are no longer just a background noise. They are the whole song. But another more fundamental ache begins to override it. A deep, hollow hunger that gnaws at you from the inside. It's not the simple, fleeting hunger of a missed meal. It's a systemic, existential hunger. You eat, but you are not satisfied. You graze for hours, your powerful jaw muscles grinding away at the tough grasses, but the feeling of emptiness remains. The fuel you are putting into your massive furnace is no longer the right kind. It's low-grade inefficient, and your body knows it. The world is changing, not in a dramatic, cataclysmic way, but in 1,000 tiny, imperceptible shifts. The air feels different. The rains, when they come, are heavier, and the dry seasons last longer. The very taste of the landscape is altering. The broad, sun-drenched savannas of C4 grasses, the bedrock of your diet for millions of years, are beginning to shrink. In their place, new kinds of plants are taking hold. Scrubbier, woodier C3 plants are creeping in from the forests. They are opportunistic, adaptable, and to you they are poison. Not because they are toxic, but because your entire digestive system, a marvel of specialization, is designed to extract every last calorie from the tough, silica-rich grasses you evolved alongside. These new plants are like trying to run a diesel engine on gasoline. You can do it for a little while, but it will destroy you from the inside. Your fortress of a body, your 1,000-pound suit of armor, is completely, utterly useless against this new threat. You cannot swing your tail club at a changing climate. You cannot hunker down and wait for the vegetation to go away. Your greatest strength, your hyper-specialization, has become your most profound weakness. You are a masterpiece of engineering designed for a world that is quietly vanishing. This is the ultimate vulnerability, the one flaw for which there is no defense. This period of instability coincides with one of the most dramatic and debated climate events of recent geological history, the Younger Dryas. Around 12,900 years ago, after a period of steady warming that was melting the great ice sheets of the north, the climate suddenly violently snapped back into near-glacial conditions. The exact cause is still a subject of fierce scientific debate. One of the more dramatic theories posits that a comet or asteroid exploded over North America, triggering continent-wide wildfires and plunging the world into a nuclear winter that lasted for over 1,000 years. Whether it was a comet, a change in ocean currents, or some other factor, the result was a chaotic and unpredictable climate, a nightmare for a specialist like you. This slow-motion crisis you are experiencing has no clear enemy. It's a stark contrast to the human tendency to find someone to blame for misfortune. During the Great Plague, outbreaks of medieval Europe, for example, bewildered populations often turned on minority groups, particularly Jewish communities, accusing them of poisoning wells. It was a horrific, deeply human response to a crisis they couldn't understand, blame the other. But you have no one to blame. The grass is not your enemy. The rain is not your enemy. The very air itself is betraying you, and there is nothing you can do about it. It's an odd thing, but the naked mole rat, one of the strangest mammals on Earth, has an unusual physiological quirk that might have helped it survive similar environmental shifts. It's essentially cold-blooded its body temperature, tracking the ambient temperature of its underground tunnels. It's a low-energy solution that makes it incredibly resilient to swings in resource availability. You have no such luck. You are a high-energy machine, and your fuel source is being cut off. You stand on a hillside looking out over a valley that seems subtly wrong. The colors are off. The texture of the landscape is different. You feel a growing sense of unease, a deep instinctual feeling that you are in the wrong place at the wrong time. But every place is becoming the wrong place. The world is changing faster than you can walk. The hunger in your belly is a constant hollow reminder that your armor can protect you from a tiger, but it can't protect you from a Tuesday. The world has become damp. A constant low-hanging mist clings to the valleys, and the ground, which was once dry and firm, is now a spongy, waterlogged carpet. The great ice sheets that held dominion over the northern hemisphere for millennia are in their final, messy death throes. As they melt, they release truly biblical amounts of fresh water into the oceans, disrupting currents and fundamentally altering global weather patterns. For you, this isn't an abstract concept. It is a wet, miserable reality. The river you once struggled to cross is now a permanent churning floodplain. The open savannas are shrinking, being replaced by boggy wetlands and dense encroaching forests. Your body designed for a dry open world is failing you at every turn. Your pillar-like legs, perfect for supporting immense weight on solid ground, sink into the soft, wet earth with every step. Each footfall is a struggle against suction. Your low-slung body, an advantage when presenting a low profile to predators, now constantly drags through the mud, a perpetual energy-sapping friction break. The dent in your flank from the other Glyptodon now collects stagnant brackish water, a constant irritating reminder of your past traumas. You are an all-terrain vehicle designed for one type of terrain, and that terrain no longer exists. This rapid environmental shift at the end of the Younger Dryas, roughly 11,700 years ago, was one of the most dramatic periods of climate change in Earth's recent history. The melting of the North American ice sheet created a colossal freshwater lake called Lake Agassiz. When the ice dam holding this lake back finally broke, it released a flood of almost unimaginable scale, a torrent of water that surged into the North Atlantic, shutting down the ocean's thermohaline circulation, the great conveyor belt that moves warm water around the globe. This event plunged the world back into cold conditions for a time, but the overall trend was one of warming wetness and chaos. You are living through the messy, unpredictable hangover of a 1,000-year-long cold snap. Your food is gone. The C4 grasses you depend on are being outcompeted by the faster-growing, more water-loving C3 plants. You try to eat them, but they offer little nutrition and leave you with a constant low-level stomachache. You are starving in a world that is paradoxically becoming greener and more lush. The landscape is dotted with strange low mounds of earth, each a few feet high and spaced with an odd regularity. These are Mima mounds, a bizarre geological feature whose origin remains a mystery to modern science. Some think they are the work of generations of pocket gophers, others suggest seismic activity or complex patterns of erosion. You don't care about their origin. You only know that they make walking an already difficult task even more of a clumsy, stumbling ordeal. The most pressing question for paleontologists studying this period is how the megafaunal extinction actually played out. Was it a sudden catastrophic event with dozens of species winking out in the geological blink of an eye? Or was it a lingering decline, a slow, staggered process where some species held on in isolated pockets of favorable habitat, little islands of the past in a rising tide of the future? Your very existence, a tired, hungry, arthritic creature in a world that no longer fits, is a data point in favor of the lingering model. You are not part of a sudden collapse. You are a refugee, a holdout, a living fossil in your own time. Other animals are adapting. The smaller, more generalized herbivores are thriving. The ancestors of modern deer and rabbits can browse on the new vegetation. They are quicker, more adaptable, and have a much lower caloric need. You see them flitting at the edges of the new forests, and you feel a sense of profound obsolescence. They are the future. You are a relic. You are like a medieval knight in full plate armor, trying to fight a modern war. Your equipment is magnificent. It is the product of millions of years of refinement, and it is completely, utterly useless against the new rules of engagement. Your armor, once a symbol of your invincibility, has become your tombstone. The silence is the most unsettling part. It's a deep, profound emptiness that has settled over the world like a layer of fine dust. The air, once thick with the grunts, bellows, and rustlings of 1,000 other large bodies, is now thin and quiet. The heavy, earth-shaking tread of a mammoth herd is a distant memory. The grumpy snort of a toxodon at a waterhole is gone. Even the scent of other glyptodonts, a smell as familiar and comforting as your own, has vanished from the wind. You wander through a landscape that is both familiar and terrifyingly alien, a museum of a world that used to be. You are an endling, the last of your kind. You don't know the term, of course, but you feel its meaning in your very bones. It's a loneliness so complete, so absolute, that it transcends emotion and becomes a physical state of being. You are an island of memory in an ocean of quiet. Each day is a search not just for the right kind of food, which is almost impossible to find, but for a sign, a track in the mud, a familiar scent on the breeze, a fresh furrow scraped in the earth by another heavy tail. But there is nothing. The world has been wiped clean of your people. Your story is a silent echo of one that will play out tens of thousands of years in your future, on a small island in the Galapagos. There, another creature of magnificent armor, a Pinta Island tortoise named Lonesome George, will become the last of his kind. He will become a global icon of extinction, a living symbol of loss cared for by the same species of clever, upright apes that now haunt the edges of your world. But your end is different. It is unobserved. There are no scientists to mourn your passing, no conservation programs to try and save you. Your extinction is a private, anonymous affair, a quiet closing of a door in a house that no one knows is empty. This loneliness brings with it a creeping sense of futility. What is the point of this magnificent armor if there are no predators left large enough to challenge it? What is the purpose of your mighty tail club if there are no rivals to fight for territory that is no longer worth fighting for? Your defenses have become a cruel joke, a set of obsolete tools for a job that no longer exists. You are functionally extinct. You are a ghost haunting the landscape of your own past, your immense body a walking monument to a time that has already gone. This raises a difficult question for paleontologists. When is a species truly gone? We have the concept of a Lazarus taxon. A species that disappears from the fossil record is presumed extinct only to reappear millions of years later. The coelacanth, a fish thought to have died with the dinosaurs, was famously rediscovered alive and well in 1938. Could there be a forgotten valley somewhere, a lost plateau, where a small population of your kind managed to hold on? It's a romantic, hopeful idea. But from where you stand in this silent, damp, and increasingly alien world, hope is a foreign concept. The silence is so complete you could hear a pin drop if pins existed, and the constant ache in your joints didn't drown out all other sound. You are weak now. The gnawing hunger is a constant companion. Your magnificent armor, once 1,000-pound shield, is now just a 1,000-pound weight, an anchor pulling you down into the soft, unforgiving earth. You stumble more often. Your arthritic legs can barely support the immense, pointless burden of your own body. You find yourself in a small clearing, a place you remember from a different time, a time of sun and dry earth in the company of others. There was a wallow here, a patch of fine dust perfect for scratching that unreachable itch under your shell. It's a mud pit now. You are too tired to go on. With a final weary sigh that is lost in the profound silence of this new world, you lower yourself to the ground one last time. The immense weight of your own history presses down on you, and you let it. Your consciousness fades a final quiet flicker, but your body remains. For a time it is scavenged by the smaller, less ambitious creatures that have inherited this new wet world. But your carapace, your magnificent, useless dome of bone, is too much for them. It is an indigestible monument. The seasons turn. The river, swelling with the meltwater of a dying ice age, floods its banks. Your empty shell sitting in its shallow clearing is inundated. Fine layers of silt, sand, and clay settle inside and around it, a slow, patient burial. The weight of the sediment presses down, and the water rich with dissolved minerals begins its slow, transformative work. The process of fossilization of turning bone into stone begins again. You are no longer an animal. You are becoming a landscape. Your shell is your legacy, a strange domed rock in a layer of ancient floodplain deposits. It is an object of such bizarre and perfect construction that it will one day captivate the imagination of the very creatures who drove you to extinction. They will find your fossilized armor and they will wonder. They will see the intricate rosette patterns and mistake you for a giant patterned tortoise. They will see the solid fused dome and marvel at its strength. Your body will become a touchstone for their own history, a symbol of a lost world. When Charles Darwin visited South America in the 1830s during the voyage of the HMS Beagle, he was obsessed with the fossils of giant mammals he found, including your relatives. He wrote, "The mind is at first irresistibly hurried into the belief of some great catastrophe, but thus to destroy animals, both large and small, in southern Patagonia, in Brazil, on the Cordillera of Peru, in North America, up to Bering Straits, we must shake the entire framework of the globe." Your fossilized body helped shake the framework of his mind, providing a crucial piece of the puzzle that would eventually become the theory of evolution by natural selection. Your armor in its stony permanence becomes a Rorschach test for the creatures who find it. Early naturalists struggling to place you in the tree of life saw you as a monster, a failed experiment of creation. Later, paleontologists saw you as a triumph of adaptation, a perfect response to the predatory pressures of your time. Now we see you as a cautionary tale, a story of over-specialization, of the dangers of being too good at one thing in a world that is constantly changing. The debate over your legacy continues. Are you a symbol of nature's boundless creativity or a tragic victim of its unforgiving cruelty? The answer, like most things in science, is probably a little bit of both. And what of the dent? The circular fracture on your left flank? The wound from your long-forgotten battle with your rival? It too is preserved in the stone. It is a scar that has outlasted empires. It is a story of a single violent afternoon that has been written into the permanent record of the planet. And it is a reminder that even the most impregnable fortress has its vulnerabilities. We can analyze the bone, we can map the fracture patterns, we can even model the force of the impact. But we can never know the full story. We can never know the feeling of the blow, the taste of fear and aggression, the weary satisfaction of survival. It's a funny thing to consider, but the world's first recorded joke, a Sumerian proverb from 1900 BC, is a bit of bathroom humor about a wife's flatulence. It's a strangely intimate and humanizing detail from a lost world. The dent in your shell is a similar detail, but one without a punchline. It is a silent, stony testament to a pain that we can see but never truly understand. Your legacy, then, is not one of triumph or of failure. It is one of complexity. You were a walking paradox, a 2-ton herbivore with the weaponry of a medieval knight, a fortress with a fatal flaw, a creature of the sun-drenched savanna that was ultimately defeated by a change in the weather. Your armor is a beautiful, intricate, and ultimately tragic monument to the simple, brutal fact that in the long, slow game of evolution, nothing is invincible. The world keeps changing, and even the strongest walls will eventually crumble into dust or be buried in mud, waiting for a new kind of predator armed with curiosity to come along and tell its story. The journey through the life of this single imagined Glyptodon, from its ponderous first steps to its lonely end, becomes a window into a lost world. We have felt the immense weight of its armor, a constant crushing presence that was both a shield and a prison. We have seen through its eyes a world of predators and rivals, of daily struggles for food and survival. We have felt the ground shake with the approach of a Smilodon, the concussive blast of a rival's tail, and the cold intellectual pressure of human hunters. We have traced its life through the scars on its fossilized bones and its diet through the chemical ghosts left in its atoms. This creature, a testament to the evolutionary arms race, was a masterpiece of defensive engineering, a living fortress perfectly adapted to its environment. But that very perfection, that specialization in a world of C4 grasses and apex predators, became its undoing. When the climate shifted, when the forests encroached, When the very food it was built to eat vanished from the landscape, its armor became a useless, heavy burden. It was a walking relic, a magnificent failure, a casualty of a war it could not fight, a war against change itself. Its story, written in the stone and teased out by science, is a profound and humbling reminder that survival in the long run is not about being the strongest or the most heavily armored, but about being able to adapt to a world that never ever stops changing. And so our journey ends. You can open your eyes now. You are no longer on the damp, misty plains of the late Pleistocene. You are back in your room, the only weight on you being a blanket, the only ache perhaps a stiff neck from how you've been lying. We walk through an entire life, from the ponderous, confident steps of a living fortress to the slow, lonely shuffle of the last of its kind. We felt the terror of a Smilodon's attack, the bizarre interruption of a giant sloth, and the cold, calculating intelligence of the new predators who would inherit the earth. The story of the Glyptodon's armor is a story of incredible evolutionary success, a masterpiece of defense. But it's also a profound lesson. The very thing that makes you invincible in one world can become the anchor that drowns you in the next. The fortress held against every tooth and claw, but it couldn't withstand a change in the weather. Thank you for embarking on this journey with me tonight. If you enjoyed this trip back in time and want to support these deep dives into the lives of forgotten creatures, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps more than you know and allows me to keep creating these stories for you. Now I'll leave you to the quiet of your own time. I hope your dreams are vast and your sleep is deep. Good night.